Hello and welcome to Goal Line Hockey. We are here for Goal Line Hockey Podcast number 4. Wow, we're already a month into the Goal Line Hockey Podcast, and this is pretty cool, guys. We are going to have a big week. You guys know how I feel about my jerseys. We're going to be looking at the reverse retro jerseys that were released this past Monday, looking at some of your comments at the end of the video, as well as the latest on the NHL and the NHLPA being pissed at the NHL with the situation around next season. We'll be taking a look at that today. So, we're going to start things off with the negative because we're going to get it out of the way, and then the rest of the podcast is going to be all fun and games. Let's start right off with the NHL. So, there are a ton of Sportsnet articles, New York Post articles, talking about, look at these titles. I'll just tell you the titles first. NHL angers players with shocking attempt to renegotiate CBA. Sportsnet, players feeling angry, betrayed by NHL's new CBA amendment proposals. So basically, if you don't understand, and a lot of you may not understand, what does that even mean? What's the CBA? What are you even talking about? They're angry about a CBA agreement, the NHLPA, they're making new proposals. What are you talking about? Renegotiating what? So the CBA is the collective bargaining agreement, which the NHL and the NHLPA agreed on. It depends on how long that is. It may be 5 years, it may be 10 years, maybe 15 years. Usually when there's a new CBA because we typically see a lockout shortened season or the potential to not see an NHL season at all that year. And to look at the Crosby draft, that was a lockout. The 07-08 season, also a lockout shortened season. In 2014, I think we saw a lockout season there as well. So, sadly, that's how you kind of remember when these new agreements are made. And the NHL had to make a new one this year. It was right before the NHL return to play plan was in full fruition. We saw the cool elimination round before the playoffs. We saw the playoff teams that were already in, the top 4 teams. They battled it out with each other to re-establish the positioning in that division and all that stuff. It was pretty cool. But things since then have fallen off. The Stanley Cup has been awarded, and the NHL is starting to see that this COVID stuff may not be going away as quickly as a lot of people thought, including myself. And now the NHL, 5 months after negotiating this agreement that they had, basically it's escrow, how much money, the revenue that the NHL makes, it's going to be a lot of that off of these reverse retro jerseys. How much of that is given to the players as well as how much of that is given to the fans. I wish I was making that money. Jeez. To the owners. So that's divided between the players and the owners. And now all of a sudden the NHL is saying, hold on, our projections we had 5 months ago are not the same that they are now. And, hey, listen, NHLPA, we're looking to renegotiate. Yeah, I know it was 5 months ago, but let's renegotiate a new deal because we don't like the deal the way it is now. That's not a recipe for success, NHL. You have to know that ahead of time. Come on. So, the players are pretty pissed, and I think rightfully so. I mean, the hard cap in 2005 that was created by the NHL. Now, if you don't know what the hard cap is, what is a hard cap? Basically, the NHL sets a ceiling for how much money you could spend on any given season. Now, the reason they do this is because that's why I'm wearing Detroit, but also I love this jacket because it's absolutely fire. But the original 6 teams in particular, we're talking about the New York Rangers, the Detroit Red Wings, the Boston Bruins, the Chicago Blackhawks. Why am I forgetting the other ones? Montreal, and Toronto, most notably. Especially in the 90s, we saw the Rangers. If you know, the Islanders have a chant. In 94, they bought the cup as part of the song because they feel they bought that New York Rangers team. Now, obviously, it's easy to win a Stanley Cup when you have the money to do that. And you look at other sports. You look at, say the New York Yankees or the Boston Red Sox or the Houston Astros, those or the LA Dodgers, the top teams that make the most money, they spend the most money as well. Makes sense. But the NHL wants parity in the league. So that way a team like Arizona that just for numbers sake, I'm not saying these are actually the numbers they make. If let's say the Coyotes make $50 million a year, right? And the Leafs make $100 million a year. Well, right there you're going to see an issue where they can use that money to spend on more players, and they have an advantage over the Coyotes. Well, back in 2005, they took that away, where every team had to spend only up to $83 or $84 million, and you also have a cap floor, which is like 78, 79 right now. So that's the way of the NHL kind of controlling and making more parity in the league. So you don't have the Red Wings picking up the top players every year, or the New York Rangers getting Messier and all these top guys and Gretzky. They don't want that. So that's why they did that. And now the NHL, this is the article. So this is from the New York Post. The union held a virtual executive board meeting Wednesday afternoon, during which team player reps were informed by union leadership that the league is asking the players to defer an additional 13 to 16% of their base salary for the season on top of the 10% deferral that was originally negotiated in July. Oh man, that is bad. The request delivered by Bettman to Don Fier was accompanied by league liquidity concerns. According to multiple sources that included one person on the conference call, but the request for additional deferral is not the only concession the NHL is seeking from the players. Indeed, the parties originally agreed to cap escrow at 20% for this upcoming season, between 14 and 18%, and at 6% for each of the final 3 seasons. But now the NHL is asking that union agree to increase the escrow cap to perhaps as much as 9.5% for those final 3 years of the CBA. Oh, man. Understand, 4 months after negotiating a 6-year deal in the midst of this ongoing pandemic that took into account potential economic distress created by the pandemic, the NHL is claiming it cannot live by the deal. It is impossible to cite a precedent in pro sport labor law history. The NHL is asking for a do-over. Well, it's going to be an interesting year in a year or two when I have to make videos for you guys about a season that doesn't exist because we have a lockout. So this is not good, guys. That's basically the end of it. This is going to be a problem, and you can't get too worried about it, but not looking good. Let's put it that way. And I think the NHL is made some steps along the way that really hurt them. I think they've made some mistakes. I think they've really, really messed up in certain spots. And I think what we are seeing is you have to account for that. I don't understand how you don't account for this lasting longer than you think. And this is a professional league we're talking about. We're talking about a league that's in supposedly in the same company as, you could argue, the MLB, the NFL, the NBA, MLS even. If you had to rank those, where would you rank those? You would probably say NBA is number 1 at this point, because they are very good at promoting that star power, right? And building championship teams and all that. And who's behind them? Maybe the NFL, but they've had their issues, which I obviously have my certain feelings about the NFL, but the NFL is probably second. And then who's third? Right? Is it the NHL? Is it MLS? Is it maybe MLB still? Because MLB has really fallen off. So if you're in the same category as the MLB, you're not doing it right. And MLS, it's more popular, soccer is more popular over in Europe. So where's the NHL? Is the NHL 3 at best on that list? Or are they potentially 6th behind MLS and the MLB. So, and even I'm not even considering college sports. College sports you would definitely put ahead of the NHL at this point. So, not a good spot for the NHL. How do they get themselves out of this? I don't know. But they have been making mistakes time and time again. And it makes you wonder, where is the NHL really going? And I do get concerned about that sometimes. And I'd hate to be pulling up overseas highlights for an entire year. That may be a real scenario, though. And speaking of overseas, guys, we are done with the CBA talk and this whole thing, but this is definitely something to keep an eye on over the next couple weeks. I will keep you posted on the channel as soon as we get more info. But guys, I'm going to be honest, not looking good. All right, so let's turn a page. So we are going to look at the Florida Panthers prospect here from the 2020 NHL Draft, who is overseas playing with HIFK in Jokerit, where they played Jokerit in a super big matchup, a 11-1 victory over Jokerit in the Liga. And Anton Lundell opened the scoring 24 seconds into the game, and this guy is unbelievable. I mean, this is crazy. He scored 6 points. 6 points in this game. The crafty 19-year-old turned on the Jets and roofed a forehander. All these highlights, look at this. Lundell would pick up the secondary assist. Oh my God, man. Florida's 2020 first round pick now has 11 goals, 19 points in 14 games in Liga. Lundell is second in the league in goals behind Arttu Rustalainen, and third in scoring behind Rustalainen and Ryan Lash, who each have 21 goals. Henrik Borstrom also suited up for HIFK. We know the story with him. This is a Panthers article, so that makes sense. This kid looks good, guys. Anton Lundell. Going into the draft, he was projected to be more of who's a good person for that? Maybe like a Mikko Koivu or like a Nick Backstrom. Like a very probably Mikko Koivu, because he's also Finnish. This is a guy that has he's that kind of player. He's a very good two-way center. But he's showing right now that he can turn on the scoring drive as well. And this kid is turning heads. And I'm excited to see what Anton Lundell, maybe next season, he jumps into that Panthers lineup. Call me crazy. Because you look at the Florida Panthers center depth right now, and that could be a scenario. You look at what they have right now. Your Barkov, that's not changing. Wenberg, Verhaeghe, and Achari. That looks like an opening for a guy like Anton Lundell. Maybe not this season, but next season. Anton Lundell should be in the conversation to go into that top 6 potentially for the Florida Panthers. And this kid, if he keeps it up the way he is right now, the Florida Panthers will have no chance, no opportunity not to bring him in. And they need a center desperately there in Florida, because Wenberg and Verhaeghe in your middle 6 as center, I'm not sold on that. And if they want to make the playoffs in it's going to be a competitive Atlantic Division next year. Really, besides Detroit, they could probably use an Anton Lundell to help bolster up that offense. All right, guys. So let's get into the main point of this podcast. This is the exciting part, guys. We are looking at the reverse retro jerseys that we saw earlier this week, and they look amazing. Absolutely amazing. There's probably 2 or 3 that I'm not a huge fan of, but besides that, these things are mint, and we'll be taking a look at that here. So we're going to start off in the Pacific Division. Guys, we're looking at the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks going back to the Mighty Wing, and that is a unbelievable look. Mighty Wing is just perfect for the Anaheim Ducks. It's a reverse retro to what they had in the 90s. It is so good, and I am already looking to pre-order that jersey. The Arizona Coyotes and the Desert Dog. Guys, this one is also amazing. You have the desert landscape on the bottom of the jersey. Just a clean look. The Kachina head. It is a perfect logo for the Coyotes. Peyote Coyote. So pretty cool there for the Coyotes. Horsehead returns for the Calgary Flames. So pretty exciting there. I really like this jersey. I like that logo a lot. Really nice look for the Calgary Flames. Not a fan of the striping on the sides. We've already talked about that in my reverse retro review, but that is a very clean look for the Flames. The Oilers did something very Edmonton Oilers-esque. It's the same logo in the middle, same striping, everything. Just the striping is in a different pattern. That's pretty much all they did. It's a cool look, but again, when you're the Edmonton Oilers, maybe it's too soon to bring back the oil rig logo, so they go with this instead. The LA Kings, this was a beautiful jersey. You have the Lakers look with the old logo from Gretzky days there in LA. Really clean jersey. Absolute win for the Kings. The Sharks go back to their Black Shark jersey. Black Shark logo. You got a little bit of teal, a lot of gray, which I'm not a fan of the gray. And the black barring on the sleeves, like like Reebok, wasn't a fan of that. But it's still a clean it's a clean logo, and that's enough for me. And the teal, it just works. And the Canucks, everybody was making fun of the Canucks logo, the Canucks jersey, because it looks like a Sprite bottle. It's the Sprite bottle jersey, guys. And it looks pretty amazing. It's a throwback to their 90s jersey. They got the flying V on the sleeves. Just a clean look for the Canucks. Nothing crazy, but it doesn't look like a Sprite bottle. It's quite uncanny. But there you go. All right, so enough with the corny jokes. The Vegas Golden Knights go with a red 4th jersey because they don't really have a reverse retro. They haven't been around long enough to even have that, so it's a 4th jersey, and it looks really clean. You got the Vegas star in the middle with the crossing knives or the swords. You can't go wrong for the Golden Knights. Those things will sell like hotcakes. So now we head to the Central Division. Now this one I actually didn't talk about in my review for the jerseys because we didn't actually see it. It was pretty hard to see. And that was the Chicago Blackhawks jersey. It's a throwback to a Winter Classic jersey they had, as well as a little bit of a throwback to the one they had back in 2018 against Pittsburgh. It's a pretty cool look. Nothing crazy, but it is. I like that logo, the Chicago Blackhawks. It just works for that team. And they have so much history they could have dug up through. So I like this jersey for the Blackhawks. Guys, probably one of the fan favorites this year is the Quebec Nordiques coming back as the Colorado Avalanche pay homage to the Nordiques with a Nordiques jersey. You got the Saints on the bottom. You have the Nordique logo in the middle. Absolutely perfect. And this is one a lot of people will be buying up. The Dallas Stars, nothing too crazy with the Dallas Stars. I think they really messed up with the silver, though. You could see the star, you could see Dallas wordmark, and then the stars and the outline are like, it's very faint, and you can't see it that well on a white jersey. I'm not sure who was in charge of that for the Dallas Stars. It's a clean-looking jersey, but I really hope it's easier to see on TV because it doesn't look that great in the pictures so far. The Minnesota Wild paying homage to the Minnesota North Stars, a green and yellow color scheme with their current jersey. It's a pretty cool look, and I gotta admit, this is one I would probably pick up if I was a Wild fan. Pretty cool. Nashville Predators go back to the throwback on the shoulder patch logo, as well as their jersey overall. It's a yellow jersey. You got the gray and blue on the sleeves. It's a clean look, and it's a throwback logo to what they had. It's not like their modern logo. It looks slightly different. It's nothing crazy, but it is different, and that's a clean look for the Predators. The St. Louis Blues, guys, they go back to something the blue note jersey, and you have the St. Louis word mark in the upper part of the note. You also have a red jersey there in St. Louis instead of the blue and red on the bottom. Red on top, blue on the bottom. Reverse retro. There you go. Clean look for the Jets. The Blues. And I think this one's going to sell out pretty well. It also kind of looks like a throwback to the Kansas City Scouts with the color scheme. But I don't know if that's what they were going for or not. The Winnipeg Jets, though, they definitely went in a different direction. You have blue, gray, white, light blue, light blue, dark blue. So it's a pretty cool look. It kind of reminds me of the blackout jerseys we saw back in the early 2000s. But again, I think it's a clean look, and it's definitely very interesting compared to the rest of these jerseys. So now we move into the Atlantic. You got the Boston Bruins. They go back to a yellow classic look. Very nice throwback to the Bobby Orr era jerseys. Very nice there for the Bruins. The Sabres go back to the crossing swords. You have the goat head on the shoulders. Goat! So pretty cool look for the Sabres, as well as the Buffalo word mark on the bottom of the jersey. That's a win for the Sabres. Guys, the Red Wings did the most Red Wings thing in the world. The most boring jersey you could think of. A little gray stripe, red numbers, red logo, and that's it. And they finished up. That was a quick press conference to figure out what jersey they were going to pick, because that's about all they were going to do. Florida Panthers, though, man, they went in a different direction, and I like this. They have the leaping logo, the leaping Panther logo as it returns. It doesn't seem vintage because it wasn't that long ago, but technically that is no longer their logo. So this is in fact a throwback to their expansion jersey, and it is a clean look for the Florida Panthers. Montreal Canadiens do the most Montreal Canadiens thing in the world, a reverse retro completely to the point on their jerseys that they've always had. So clean look there. Not much to talk about for the Habs. The Senators, this is a really clean jersey. This is one I might want to pick up later on. It's a red jersey. You have that vintage Senators logo, as well as the black stripes on the sleeve. You can't go wrong. This is a dub for the Ottawa Senators. Now moving on, we've also got a team here in the Tampa Bay Lightning. They do a throwback. They go to their, instead of a black jersey, they go to a blue jersey of the old vintage Tampa Bay Lightning logo. Classic look for the Lightning. I really like that jersey. And then the Leafs, they do again, a pretty Leafs thing. It's a pretty cool jersey though. I like that they incorporate gray. It looks a little bit like pajamas, which I guess makes sense for Pajama Boy there in John Tavares. But all kidding aside, I think that's a clean look for the Maple Leafs. Now we move on to the Metro, and the Metro division has some pretty clean jerseys. You have the Hartford Wolfpack. The Hartford Whalers return down in Carolina. They have that gray jersey, which I'm not a huge fan of the gray, but you got the vintage green, the vintage blue. That's a winner there for the Hurricanes. The Columbus Blue Jackets go back to their expansion logo, the CBJ in the middle. You have a red jersey there in Columbus, which we have not seen before. You have the little stars around the cuffs. That's a nice little detail. A pretty clean look overall for the Jackets. The Devils Christmas jersey. We got the full green jersey with the red and white striping. I am in love with the striping on this jersey. I don't know what it is, but it's a lot going on, but I think that's why I like it. That's a winner there for the Devils. And the Islanders did something you could tell Lou Lamoriello is the general manager of the New York Islanders. They went very boring. A navy blue jersey. Basically the same jersey they have now, but with a different striping pattern. Really, that's a dub. A dud for me as an Islander fan. I am not even considering getting this one. That's how disappointed I am in this jersey. Statue of Liberty. Lady Liberty returns for the New York Rangers, and that was a really clean jersey. And I know a lot of you in the comment section, which I'll be reading some of those in a minute, they were really clean for the New York Rangers. Absolutely amazing. The Philadelphia Flyers, guys, we'll be taking a look at somebody who commented a suggestion about this, adding Liberty Bells to the Flyers jersey. I think that would be a great move. I think that would be something that would help add to the jersey. If they somehow incorporated that into the logo somehow, I think that would be absolutely amazing for the Flyers, just to change it up a little bit. But they went boring, and I'm not a huge fan of this jersey at all. Pittsburgh, they go back to a 90s look. The Pittsburgh word mark across the middle. Some of you did like that jersey. I'm a little on the fence about the word mark, getting a little bit overused. But Pittsburgh, it's the black and the gold, and nothing really goes wrong with that. You have the penguin on the side, on the shoulders. We didn't see Robo Penguin return, but it's still pretty cool. And to cap it off, guys, this jersey, I am dying to have this jersey. The Washington Capitals. That jersey is a absolute beauty. It is so good. I don't know if it's just a complete reverse retro from what they had or somebody added little details, but it is just absolutely perfect. And the Capitals, they hit an absolute home run with this jersey. Killer jersey. This will be my jersey. Oh my God, guys. Compared to the Washington Capitals word mark they have now, the Screaming Eagle is by far their best jersey. And with this color scheme, it's a done deal for me. I'm paying up. All right, so guys, now we are at that point where we are going to look at your comments. Your comments from the last week and a half of the YouTube channel. So if you want your comments to possibly be, me reading them out loud, make sure to leave comments throughout the week when I post videos. That's always appreciated. And obviously, I see some of you guys, talking to each other, which I think is great. Leaving your opinions, even if you don't want to comment directly something, maybe look in the thread of comments and just maybe put your opinion out there to somebody else. And see, start a little conversation. That's really what I like about this channel, and I'm starting to see that over the last couple of weeks, and I really appreciate that, guys. Okay, so I made a video talking about Rasmus Dahlin, and I mentioned that he needs to step up for the Sabres if they want to make the playoffs next year in that very competitive Atlantic Division. And Douglas comments, one of Dahlin's biggest weakness has been the lack of depth scoring and depth talent. Since defensive pairings are fewer than the offensive, means he plays a lot with players where he can't really show off a lot of his offensive talent. Also regarding Frölunda, not only is Lundqvist brothers from there, but also Olofsson, Janmark Eller, Klingberg, Carlson, Leonard, Anderson. Then there is the lower talent, Elias Anderson, Andreas Janssen, Pierre Engvall, Alexander Wenberg. Frölunda produces a lot of talent in Sweden. Okay, yeah, you know what? That's a very good point. And I think, like I mentioned that in the video, I think if Dahlin had a better defenseman that he was paired with, I think that's kind of what he's saying, is he agrees with that. Because you look at the defense for the Sabres right now, it's funny, Olofsson's here as well. He's also from Frölunda. Currently, according to Daily Faceoff, it's Colin Miller that's paired with Rasmus Dahlin, and that has the potential to work. I really do. I think that you've got Brandon Montour, who I've always been a fan of. Rasmus Ristolainen, I've been a fan of him as well. Jake McCabe, a little bit lesser so, but he's still in there. So I think the Sabres are one of those teams with Dahlin that if they can go on a run, if they can go and maybe make a playoff push and be one of those really good teams, guys, keep an eye on the Buffalo Sabres. I think they have some real potential this year to do some damage. I'm very excited to see what they do this year. So thank you, Douglas, for the comment. I appreciate that. And a little bit more information on Frölunda and their situation. Okay, man, my buddy, leaving a big comment. I appreciate that, brother. NP22, you've been on the channel for a while. I believe you're a Ranger fan. I've definitely seen you comment on here before. I think we've talked about you over a couple weeks ago. So he also commented on the Dahlin video. He talks a little bit about the Sabres. I think it's crazy that the Sabres are in a win-now mentality. I feel like there's some work that needs to be done to their team before they can seriously contend. But this is all happening just so the Sabres can keep Jack Eichel, since he's fed up with losing. That's a very good point. The Sabres would probably be better off trading Eichel, because they can get an insane amount of depth to the point where they can, to the point that their team will be very well rounded. Try convincing Sabres fans on that, though. You don't exactly need multiple stars to win a cup. That's true. We've seen that happen before. You don't exactly need multiple stars to win a cup. You can have one star on your team, but you just need a good supporting cast around. Whoever that will be down the road. Like, think about it. If the Sabres traded Eichel and got a lot back, that makes their team more well-rounded. Then all they need to focus on is trying to find a star that's actually worth paying a lot to in his prime. And if they do both of those things, then they could be serious contenders for a cup. My point I'm trying to make is My point I'm trying to make is that trading Eichel will not only reduce the problems they have in their organization, but I also believe they will be better overall team trading if the Sabres get the right deal for Eichel. Also, they need to look to find a trade partner for Skinner. I don't think that guy is worth $7 million, but if they do find a trade partner, Buffalo will most likely have to retain some of his salary in the deal. They'd be lucky to find a team that would be willing to take on that contract. I'd look to trade him for a slightly younger forward who's getting paid to what he's worth as a player. Thank you, NP22, for the comment. Okay, so obviously there's a lot. I basically just read out a novelty, but NP22, man, I really appreciate that. All kidding aside, that's a great comment and a great couple of questions in there. So there's a lot to, let's separate this into little subsections. So basically he's saying right off the bat, he thinks it's crazy that the Sabres are in a win now mode with their current team. And you could make an argument that that is a very good point. I mean, you look at some of the young guys they have. Do you want to give up the farm right now when you have guys like Dylan Cousins on the rise? Guys like Victor Olofsson, you know, their first round pick this year, Jack Quinn, Rasmus Dahlin, you know, like they have some pieces that you don't really want to sell the farm out quite yet. And picking up Taylor Hall was a big boost for them. I think that was huge for them. But we're talking about a team here that, I mean, they haven't made the playoffs in a couple of years. And they've been toward the bottom of the NHL standings ever since they tanked for Connor McDavid. And the problem is, and then you bring up the point that they should trade Eichel. Now, if you look at a video I posted a couple days ago talking about Patrick Kane possibly being traded out of Chicago, it's the same scenario. How do you, convince ownership that we're going to trade our superstar, the guy that goes on all the covers of the paper, or the guy that on the top of the arena, that's the guy, that's the face of our team. We're going to trade him for players. And then you also have to sell the fan base. And if you know anything about the Buffalo Sabres fan base, that city may burn down if they miss the playoffs again. And now you talk about trading Jack Eichel. That would be a really bad situation in Buffalo. I'd love to go up there and see it, though. But the pitchforks will come out once again for the Sabre fans. And they're just a bunch of passionate fans. The Bills are finally good, which maybe alleviates some of the pressure on the Sabres. But the Sabres, you bring up a good point. Like, they could trade him, but I just don't. The problem is you look at teams that lose those star players. I'm talking about the Islanders. I'm talking about the Blue Jackets. There are teams around the league. When you lose those players, it's very hard to get them back. And we've seen the Islanders kind of get lucky with Matt Barzal, that he was able to take that step. But you look at like Columbus, is Pierre-Luc Dubois like an all-star or elite? I think you can make that argument. I think you could do the same thing with Matt Barzal, though. But you're also not paying that exorbitant amount of money, and you're also able to build around that guy. So, and he doesn't want to play for your team. So there's a lot to consider. He's the captain. So if he's not happy there, maybe it's better that you move him. And that is a pure culture move. And if everybody gets pissed off at you for trading him or whatever, you got to have the balls to just say, listen, this isn't working out. We're going to get a ton of assets for this guy. If you get one first-round pick with the way everything has been going the past couple of years, you look at teams like San Jose, they traded their first-round pick for Erik Karlsson. Everybody thought, that's a terrible deal for the Senators. That ended up becoming the third overall pick, ladies and gentlemen. So, I don't know. And plus all the other assets they got in that. I mean, they basically picked up Tim Stützle for Erik Karlsson, who right now has had ankle injuries every season. He gets completely exposed on one-on-ones with a forward. Maybe it is the best move to move Jack Eichel. The question is, though, if it doesn't work, you're done. And too many GMs are content to just stay the way they are. And if you know anything about the Islanders situation, the New York Islanders, general manager Garth Snow, for about a decade and a half, was content with the team just maybe making the playoffs late and never giving up draft picks, never giving up prospects, because he just felt they weren't ready. But if you never go for it, then your window closes and you lose John Tavares and you lose potentially a good goaltender or whatever the situation is. So, I don't know. That's something that the Sabres have to figure out. And like I said, I think there's a lot more to it in getting rid of Jack Eichel. There is a lot involved in that. So, it could work, but if it doesn't work, not going to be good in Buffalo. And then you bring up the next point about Jeff Skinner. I hate to say this, I like your point because logically you move out Jeff Skinner for a younger player that doesn't cost you $7 million. The only problem is you have to get a general manager that is willing to take that contract because most general managers aren't going to be willing to not only give up a prospect, but they're also giving up that cap space for a guy that has not produced that much with the Buffalo Sabres. So honestly, the best thing is you do trade Jeff Skinner and his $7 million per season forever, because oh my God, it's even worse. It's $9 million per season. Yikes! So he's making $1 million less than Jack Eichel. Yeah, so they're not moving that contract, and oh man, Jason Botterill. Oh man, dude. Yeah, he really blew this team up. That was a nice getaway gift by Jason Botterill. So, yeah, you're not moving that contract. Even if it's at $7 million, even if it's at $5 million, it's not going to be worth it for the Sabres. And they potentially have to give up a first or second round pick. They do have their first and second round picks for the next 3 years, which is gold. They need that because they're going to have to move out some of these really shitty contracts. I mean, Kyle Poster's 32 years old, making $6 million per season till he's 35 years old. Man, yeah, that's not good. And Ristolainen is on a sweetheart contract at 5.4 for the next 2 years, but they still have to pay Jeff Skinner $9 million forever. So it doesn't really matter that much. So the Sabres, they're hoping Taylor Hall works out, but even if he does work out, they don't even have the cap space. So, and with guys like Cousins coming up and Olofsson, they're going to start making more money. Sam Reinhart. This is going to be an interesting team. I think eventually the clock is just going to tick on this team, and they're just going to have to blow it up. But Botterill really did not do them many favors with this team. All right, so let's take a look. So thank you for the comment, MP22. Listen, like I said, I think we should consider the Jack Eichel trade. I agree with you there. The problem is, obviously, there's more details to it. The fans are not going to be happy with that. And the Jeff Skinner thing, it's just going to be too hard to move out Jeff Skinner. But I appreciate the comment, man. Dude, you are one of my top fans for sure because you're always commenting. So I really appreciate that, brother. And let's move on. All right, so let me just screenshot that for later so I can show you guys this beauty of a comment. Let's see. Let's take a look. Okay, so we're going to look at some jerseys here. That video did fairly well. Okay, so a Rangers retro jersey with this. Okay, so let's. So there's a comment in that reverse retro leak or whatever video. Gus Eisenstein says, a Rangers retro jersey with the Statue of Liberty logo on it. I say it's amazing. Let's go Rangers. Well, that's exactly what we got. So there you go. So this is another comment that I mentioned earlier about the Flyers. Jeremy Feely says the Flyers jerseys need the Liberty Bell shoulder patches, in my opinion. Listen, I think they could use the shoulder patches. Why not try it as a main logo at some point? Obviously, the Flyers logo is sacred, and that's one that people don't want to touch. But I really think just to change it up. I'm not saying you have to do it forever. I'm not saying you have to do it for a long time at all. But especially right now with COVID and everything, this is a perfect opportunity for the Flyers to get... The fans are going to buy a jersey if it's different enough from what they have. That's just simple. Why am I going to buy the same thing for another $300? Why am I going to do that? So, listen, you put that Liberty Bell on there, and it's a clean-looking jersey, and you put some weird pattern or something on it, and it draws the attention of the media, it draws the attention of fans around the league, and people will buy that jersey. So maybe it's too much for the Flyers to handle, but I would love to see some kind of change in that logo. And I think a lot of people, they say, don't touch it, it's sacred. It's the same thing as the Habs. You know, it looks like a smiling toilet. I mean, I'm kidding, but it does look like that. So I think there are certain things where if you're the Flyers, it doesn't really look that far off from a toilet with something inside of it. So, listen, it's a cool logo, and I think a lot of people consider it sacred and you can't touch it, but you could also make an argument it's a dirty toilet as well. So, appreciate that comment, Jeremy. I don't really know what else to say besides that, but I appreciate that, man. So Michael Coelho, this guy's been commenting a lot, and I appreciate that, man. Great video, great channel. Keep it up. As always, you don't have to ask me for that. Yes, we are always moving forward with this channel, man. Brandon M. commented, can't wait for the Caps jersey. Absolutely, man. I think a lot of people are excited for that jersey. It looks sweet. Oh my God, no. So Brandon M commented back. So I said, I'm about to go broke buying that jersey. Right, the Capitals, New Jersey. And he said, Goal Line Hockey was never a fan of the original Screaming Eagle color scheme, so I'm beyond fired up that it's red, white, and blue. I'm not a jersey collector, just only own Caps jerseys. I love my Capitals. Thank you, Brandon M. And yeah, you know what, dude? Like, I thought you were going to say you didn't like the Screaming Eagle. I'm like, come on, man. That's a freaking amazing jersey. But, okay, so we're on the same team still. Yeah, this means a lot for me, buying a Capitals jersey. I used to hate the Capitals. I used to envy Ovechkin. I went to a couple of Islander games in their rebuilding years. You could argue they're still in that, but Ovechkin always scored against the Islanders. He is just a freaking mammoth on the ice, and you're very lucky to have that guy because he is unbelievable. So you're gonna know the day he's gone there in Washington. You don't see 8 skating around. It's gonna be up in the rafters. That's gonna be a sorely missed player for the Capitals. He is just unbelievably good. But that's besides the point. Love the Capitals, man. Definitely changed my opinion on them. But they've still been beating my Islanders. They beat them this year, but Capitals are a pretty solid team. So thanks for the comment, Brandon M. And a big Caps fan down there in DC. Always support got the support from down there. So appreciate that, man. So a couple of you said, I think we get the crossed swords for Buffalo. Salty, Wings, and Avs fan. You were right. And then he mentioned that the Wings jersey. Salty Wings and Avs fan also mentioned, I don't know. I think the Wings looks bland with just a red stripe in the middle. It ended up being worse than that. We didn't even get the red stripe in the middle. That is as brutally boring of a jersey as I've ever seen. The day they come up with some sort of jersey that's actually like interesting, you know, when you have, I'm looking at the D logo from the Stadium Series they played. That's a cool jersey, but like it's nothing really like special. So it's a cool jersey. I like it. I can't fit in it because my head is too small or my head is too big and the collar's too small. But that is a freaking hell of a jersey. But if I didn't have such a big head, it would look pretty nice on me. But the big numbers, I love those Stadium Series jerseys. They are freaking clean. But yeah, I like that jersey for sure. So appreciate the comment, man. Appreciate all the comments from you guys. You guys are amazing. The hype train is only building here at Goal Line Hockey, and I can't do that without you guys. So thank you so much. All right, I'm on my knees for you guys. I got to cut the shit. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Goal Line Hockey Podcast Episode 3 is a wrap. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned every Thursday night for the latest around the league in our weekly podcast. I hope to see you again next week. Have a great day.